Thanks very much. So my name's Justin Glen. I'm from DDN. Recently, DDN acquired the Lustre Group from Intel. Lustre is used by a lot of customers, DDN used by a lot of our customers globally. Uber, for example, every time they open up their service in a new town, they put in a rack of DDN Lustre equipment. One of the hottest new startups in the US is a small company called Standard Cognition. When you go to your next family barbecue, you're going to tell them that you went to a 2-day AI conference, and they're going to say, well, can you tell me about it, or something. So you're going to have to say something to the family about what you do. Here's a short video, there's no sound, which is from a hot new startup in the US. They've chosen Lustre for their artificial intelligence. And what they're doing is they've created some software which will automatically work out what products you've got in your shopping basket at the supermarket. And here they've got a supermarket shelf, and there's two blokes trying to break the software. And they're doing crazy things. They're taking items off the shelf, they're putting it into their basket or on the floor, putting it back on the shelf. They're finding hidden items that actually the cameras don't know anything about. They're also finding items inside other items, like if you keep on watching, there's an esky that they open up and there's something inside there. They're passing items from each other, trying to break the software so that it can't work out or gets confused about what item is in which basket. You can't see the baskets yet. They'll introduce the baskets. Here he is with an esky, and they found a product inside and the software is going to pick that up. So that is a product that will find its way to the supermarket shelves soon, I hope. But I'm showing that because that's not DDN software that's doing that. So there's an extraordinary team who is producing those products. But the important thing is that they've chosen to do it with Lustre software, which we have a big interest in. So I am going to make, my agenda, I've got 3 items on my agenda. It is a bit strange for me. I know some of you, and some of you I don't know, and yet here I am making some recommendations. How can I possibly make a recommendation if I haven't spoken to you yet? So this is kind of like an agenda, I suppose. So I am going to make some recommendations for you. We're a company that focuses on storage, but not just the hardware, also the file system. And that's what makes us different. There are lots of storage companies out there. The thing that we do differently is we bubble up into the file system. And we know NFS very well. We know Lustre, of course, and we also know Spectrum Scale from IBM very well. They're our bread and butter, those 3 file systems. And when it comes to AI, artificial intelligence, we're recommending that you use Lustre for that. Just going back to the acquisition, so there are about 60 Lustre developers inside Intel. Before Intel acquired them, they were in a group called WAM Cloud. DDN has acquired that group, adding to the existing 30 developers, Lustre developers that were inside DDN globally. So now there's around 90 or so Lustre folks inside DDN. For those of you here, okay, so who uses Lustre, or their site uses Lustre software? Okay, so if you're using IEEL, Intel Enterprise Edition Lustre, or were using that, then you can continue to get support from WAM Cloud, which is now part of DDN, in the normal way. They're focusing on doing level 3 support only. If you want to have level 1 and 2 support as well, then that's going to be coming from DDN staff. And in Australia, DDN has 1 point something Lustre specialists in Canberra, and we're hiring another Lustre specialist in Melbourne soon. So we have Lustre people here locally. You don't necessarily have to go overseas to get Lustre support. So you have a choice. Level 3 Lustre support continues from WAM Cloud team, or level 1, 2 and 3, you can do through DDN through the traditional way of contacting us. So Lustre, lots of users, lots of customers we have globally, most of those using DDN hardware under the covers as well. Who is using Lustre? How much is the AI community using Lustre? Well, the AI community comes up as number 4 in terms of Lustre users globally. Number 1 is education, 2 is life sciences, probably a lot of that is education or research anyway. 3 is government, and then AI machine learning next. The reason that customers are using Lustre is for these. I'm not going to run through all of them, I don't have the time. Pick out a couple. MMAP performance, actually I'll come back to that. Some of the things we're doing in the future is creating an S3 interface into Lustre. In fact, it is already there. You can go to the WAM Cloud website and look at their online instance of Lustre, and it shows you has S3 built into it. We're also working on a server local client for Lustre so that you can have attached NVMe into your compute nodes. Here's an example of MMAP performance, and this is contrasting MMAP on Lustre compared to GPFS. I can make that contrast and comparison because we promote and market and sell GPFS software, spectrum scale software as it's called. And so when it comes to AI and the use of MMAP, we are not recommending that you use GPFS software for that. We can get significantly orders of magnitude better performance using Lustre for MMAP-based applications. I think many of our customers would, if they're looking at AI and they're buying machines for AI, then they're probably going to use NFS if they're not thinking about it. That would be a default. NFS does, in all the testing that we've done, it is going to starve the GPUs though, and we can get at least double the performance for an application by switching across to Lustre on a GPU-based system. And one of the reasons that we can do that is that we're putting a Lustre client into a container into the GPU system. And then those containers, each of those containers can be deployed, and they're already designed or suited for particular applications. Some of our customers, many of you are looking at your HPC systems and thinking about NVMe storage. Is it better to put that on the nodes, or do you put it centrally in a central pool? On the left-hand side is an example of where NVMe is going on to the local node. So the drawback with that is that you're not able to share your NVMe. And so we're of the view that you should pool your NVMe into a central place so that you can manage it and utilise it better. And then in terms of the performance, we're working on improving that performance so that you're not disadvantaged by having NVMe in a central pool. Ultimately, we will be able to have node local shared NVMe, and that's something that we're working on with Lustre. Another reason why we're able to get better performance is that we can, with our storage systems, we can link directly into the GPUs. So we're not going through the Ethernet network necessarily, so we're using RDMA directly to the GPUs. Some of the testing we're doing is by putting a Lustre client into a Docker container, we can get about 10 gigabytes per second directly out of one container.
Question.
Yes.
You said you are doing Arduino directly into the GPUs. So for certain message sizes, that may not be completely optimal because of the PCIe bottlenecks with x86. So how are you handling that?
That's a very good question. I think that's worthy of a thorough answer. So perhaps if you sent me an email, I'd be able to respond to that.
Storage has much bigger messages if you're doing it.
Right. So
there's a question up here about GPU and message size and storage, for those of you who can't hear. Some of you have noticed that it's not about the bandwidth, it's about IOPS, and so using Lustre we're getting very good IOPS numbers, even in a single container. And typically we're seeing greater IOPS numbers than we are that shows on this graph. My third recommendation is to consider an engineered solution for AI storage. So that means that, well, you have two options. You can buy the components yourself, servers, NVME, the software, and you can build a storage solution, or you can acquire a solution that's already been designed and tested. And that's what we're recommending. So our solutions are largely made out of open source. And we've done, how many of you have put in a file system or a storage system and found that the actual performance is maybe an order of magnitude less than what you're expecting? So storage systems are generally not simple. So we have a product which is a 2RU product which we virtualize the file system into this product. It's designed for NVMe only. And we build it in the factory, we test it in the factory, it comes with management and it has monitoring. And then this is an example for a DGX system. We've designed the system to work with the DGX system, and in fact a single system from DDN will support up to 4 DGX servers based on our analysis. We're promoting a single system, so that means that we've built the data protection into that system. You could protect your data by doing it externally, meaning buy multiple systems and use erasure coding across those systems. But instead, we're advocating you use RAID, hardware RAID, with Lustre inside, and we'll use that software to protect the data. So that's part of buying an engineered solution. So there are my 3 recommendations: using Lustre for AI, pool your storage into one place, and then use an engineered solution to give you the best possible performance and to have full support. And that's the end of my presentation.